Coalition, where we chat about everything politics over some coffee. And today I'm so happy that we have the Cochise County Democratic Party Chair, Theresa Walsh. Uh, Chair Walsh has served our country as a U.S. Army colonel, worked as an Arizona Congressmember's bridge to the community, and ran for the Cochise County Board of Supervisors District 1 last election cycle. So extremely accomplished. And just after an already outstanding record of public service, Chair Walsh is continuing that work, leading the county Democratic Party in Cochise County, and we're just so thankful that she's putting in that much work and has that much experience. We could not be more thankful. So thank you so much, Theresa, for being here. I hope your morning's been well.
Yes, thank you for having me, Francesca. It's been wonderful. I actually just made some homemade vanilla ice cream with brownies in it for dinner tonight.
Well, you're having a
So,
better Sunday than I am. That sounds really good.
yeah,
So first off, I guess, as serious as politics can get, I just want to discuss something more lighthearted. Show the mug that you brought. I'll try to
yeah.
show the one I did.
So
That
I
is
have,
much more meaningful than mine. Yeah.
yes, empowered women. It's so important to remember we have the power and we must use it.
Yeah. And then I know that looks like kind of like your shirt too, as well. I just want
Yes,
to
and
note
I have
that.
my shirt. This
That
is
is
a woman's place is in charge. And that is so important too, because we seem to take a back seat to the table sometimes. And many of the meetings and the organizations in the past, I seem to be the only woman, the only minority. So it's so good. If I can say just real quick, I've been accepted as Senator Gallego's Veteran Advisory Council. And I went up there yesterday for our first meet and greet, and there was four women on his board and a couple minorities, and it was a mixed group of amazing veterans. So I'm really proud to be on that board.
That's good. Well, congratulations for being on that board and the work that you're doing. It's super important. And I'm glad that he recognizes women in that way. But first off, I'd just love to hear kind of about your journey. So, kind of from the very beginning, how'd you get to this point? Being the chair of a political party is incredibly demanding and often thankless work. So, like, what first got you involved in politics and really what does it mean to you?
Well, I spent 32 total years in the Army. So I started here at Fort Huachuca in 1985 as a private going to school, and then traveled the world for the next 20 some years and ended up in 2015 back here at Fort Huachuca um, as a colonel. I retired in 2018 as a colonel, so it just came full circle. And then when I retired, I took some time off and joined some veteran organizations like the Veterans of Foreign War, the Disabled American Veterans, the Women's Army Corps, Army Women's United organization, just to get involved and stay involved with my community. It was so important. And then about a year later, Congresswoman Ann Kirkpatrick had a job opening up down here in Sierra Vista in Cochise County as for a military and veterans affairs caseworker. So I thought, wow, that's just right in my alley. I've been working and helping the veterans in these organizations. I still had contacts with Fort Huachuca. So I applied for the job in August 2019, and was accepted, hired, and started working in the office down here in Sierra Vista and just loved it. Loved just being helping the veterans and their constituents. So anyone who came into office who was nonpartisan, we helped hundreds and hundreds of her constituents down here across the board, IRS, Social Security, Medicare, et cetera, DES, referrals. So, and got millions of dollars back for her constituents, money that they were trying to get back or that they were owed, et cetera. And then I became her director of constituent services about a year later, and then her director of Cochise County Outreach. And that was when I said, oh, well, I got to see more of the county. I've got to interact with the city government and mayors, et cetera. And I thought, it was really actually fun. I enjoyed it. I'm a kind of outgoing person. So just to be involved and be able to relay information and concerns and issues back to the Congresswoman woman was really amazing. Um, So then at the end of 2022, she retired, and I was going to finally enjoy life and retire too. So, but the recall for Tom Crosby was happening. And I talked to a few people, and they're like, Theresa, you'd be a great candidate. Why don't you think about running?
Yeah.
I said, yes. I said, this needs to happen. I don't have anything to do. It's a perfect timing, etc. And it was something I felt passionate about, continuing to help take care of the county.
Yeah.
So I started back in January 2023 my campaign and had a great campaign team. We worked hard. We funded and got money for billboards and signs, et cetera, all the things that you need to be successful in the campaign. But unfortunately, being a very red county, I did not win. All the Democrats in the county that ran for county supervisor, county recorder, et cetera, unfortunately, we didn't win. Senator Geiger was the only one on our ballot that won. But it was still uplifting, even though it was a little bit, discouraging. It was still uplifting because there was a Democratic name on the ballot that gave people some hope. And I still have people asking me if I'm going to run, which I still haven't decided. We will see. But just what was disappointing is, I ran against an indicted felon, and here I am, a decorated combat veteran, and I still lost. So that was kind of it. But I get it. I get it. We tried. And I'm encouraging people as the chair to continue, to get their names in, talk to their neighbors, and keep the conversation going. It's just so important to continue the fight.
Yeah. Well, thank you obviously for running that campaign. I think a lot of the time people get disillusioned, if they don't win, the first time they run or if it's in a rural area. But it really is important to build that bench of future candidates because we know we can uh, flip certain seats. And, it also depends on the person that's running. And obviously, you're so well accomplished. So, of course, that's a great campaign. But sometimes it's just a little too difficult with our current political climate. So, it's always going to be a toss-up sometimes, but thank you obviously for putting in that work. And it was such a pleasure seeing you in person recently in Cochise County. And as you know, not every city or town in Arizona is the same. And so being the chair of a rural county, what are some of the unique challenges you face in Cochise? And just something you wish more people understood about the people there, the culture there, the environment, and stuff like that.
Well, a big thank you to you and Jacob for coming down and talking to us. That was very motivating, Francesca. As you know, here we are a retirement community. Probably are meeting the ages 50 and older. Not, we have a great community, but it's aging out. A lot of the organizations I mentioned before, we're an older population and the new kids aren't coming in. And so we are having trouble trying to keep them open just because we can't find the leadership. We have to have, fill certain positions to continue. But besides the aging out issue, the biggest challenges is we're a large county. I think the fifth largest in Arizona, but a large rural county, and it's hard to get around for people. Especially if you don't have a car, or internet, or just a lot of people just don't want to be bothered. They want to live in the rural area because they don't want to be bothered by anything but what they're focusing on in their life. Again, recruiting people. So recruiting those people, they're not going to drive an hour to 2 hours to a meeting. And then a lot of their neighbors probably live 2 or 3 miles away. So for them to get together and to get our teams out there knocking on doors, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Another big challenge is money. We have all these different organizations, not just political party organizations, but veteran organizations, civilian organizations like Rotary and Kiwanis and Elks, et cetera. And we're all drinking from the same well. We are not a large county by population, about 130,000, give or take, spread out. So we're not a rich county.
Yeah.
So to keep asking people to please donate, 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 people are getting tired.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I have people, saying, hey, what are you dumbs doing? I'm not, donating to you anymore. So my reply to them is, we are doing what we can. We're doing the best we can. It's not going to help. If you are concerned about something, then donate your time. If you don't want to donate money, start the conversation, etc. Stay involved. Is it going to be better with the current regime we have if we don't change it? So, I try to remind them that what's going on now is not good. It's horrible. And if we don't get people involved and active and hear about what's happening to them and their neighbors, we're it's a downslide.
And that's why I asked that question earlier about like what does politics mean to you? Because I think again, people can be so, oh, well, I'm not donating to the Democrats anymore. But it's like it's so different when you are running a county party in a rural area that you just said already faces so many challenges. It's not what that like perceived notion is of well, oh, the Cochise County Democratic Party. It's like, oh, the people that are, there are people like no one's, there are volunteers that go there every day and spend
Yes.
hours of their time to make sure things are organized. And if it wasn't for them, there would be no paid staff. Like, I mean, it just like super big challenges that can often get overlooked. And so that's why I always think
Yes.
like rural voters are the same as young voters. Like, oh, well, they don't come out in large rates. Well, if you don't reach out to them, yeah, they're not going to come out.
Yes, yes. And that is very true. I mean, we have great office volunteers, so we can keep our office open from 10 to 4 and people can come in. We have interactive, we've set up a TV with videos and things so they can see that we're participating in rallies and meetings and things like that. We have a sandwich board out there with current, items from the news we're getting. Yeah, ways to get information. This Saturday, we're going to actually do a phone bank for CD7 special election to make people aware that's happening. We got Facebook and Instagram and Blue Sky, and so we are trying to stay, socially visible too. And and that's the thing with our aging population. Not a lot of them are tech savvy. A lot of them actually don't even have cell phones. So to reach out and text and do all that, even call if they're not home, on a landline is challenging. So, we have those challenges um, and we have a lot of holes in the precinct committee positions. Our mission as executive board is filling those. We've filled probably almost 20 of them now. Well, we have over about 205 PC positions, and we've filled, I think we have 60 now, which is pretty good. But the Republicans have 300 and they've filled over 200. So we've got to get out on the ground floor and keep fighting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly what the challenge is communicating. So I'm like
Yeah.
thankful that you said that and what's going on and what you're doing. And so, really, too, that kind of ties on top of that. Given the setbacks that the Democratic Party faced in the last election cycle, one in which you made a red district surprisingly very competitive and close, what strategies do you take from that experience in getting people re-engaged and involved? I mean, whether it is through volunteering or other forms of civic participation, especially when, again, so many people just feel discouraged or apathetic right now.
Well, the biggest thing is having is collaborating with the other three organizations here in Cochise County. So Mule Mountain Democratic Club in Bisbee, the Democratic Women of Southeastern Arizona, which you were at that meeting, run by April Newman, a great leader who we have over 100 members now. I mean, her meetings, they're packed. It's wonderful. And then we have the Northern Democratic Club up in Benson with a great leader there, Melissa Dorenkamp. So my mission is to make sure I attend the meetings, that I'm talking to them, that I'm sharing information. I have area reps now. I do need to find one in Benson. I had one, but she had to step down. In Douglas and Bisbee and Sierra Vista, not just the executive board, but the area reps, so I can So I don't have to personally drive down there all the time, but they can reach out to their community. They know their community. So that's so important. And that's where, and with the PCs and making sure the state committee positions are filled by great people, because you can be in a position, but if you don't actually engage, it's not helpful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I know you wouldn't just be a chair that does not do anything, and I know how hard you work, so I wouldn't do that. But looking, ahead to the 2026 midterms, and that all kind of ties in again.
Mhm.
What aspect are you most excited about? I mean, both locally in Cochise County and really just more broadly across Arizona, like whether it's a specific issue, candidate, opportunity. I mean, we're really just bouncing back from the first 2 years of what Trump has done, or really the first year, but by the
Yeah.
midterm, it'll be the first 2 years.
Yeah.
Again, I'm hoping for a very large blue wave, but I mean, what do you really think that we need to see when we reelect Democrats?
Well, I think we need to make sure that people are informed with all the things that he is doing, because that's what's very hard in rural areas is if people are just watching Fox News, they think he's doing a great job. But if they see all these other things that are happening to them personally, like cuts to Medicare, cuts to potential cuts to Social Security, Medicaid, food stamps or snaps, etc. When it starts hitting them in their wallet, then they're going to sit up and say, "Oh." When it's their neighbors being dragged down to El Salvador, or they're American citizens and they're worried they can't travel overseas because they're afraid they won't be let back into the country. That's scary stuff. I mean, and you see the ICE places just waiting. It's like really these people are making an attempt to better their lives and get the opportunity that we have. But if it doesn't happen, they don't deserve just to be dragged off and deported without any, and not even to their country that they are from. I was born in Taiwan. I don't speak Chinese or Taiwanese, and I'm a naturalized citizen. They could say, "Oh, well, that's an invalid document or something." I mean, so it
I mean, it's
scares me.
devastating. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
we're sitting here and we're
yeah,
like, yeah, but it's devastating what's going on. I mean, they're
yeah,
pulling families from courthouses they were supposed to go to their court date,
yeah. It's horrible.
you
And
know.
I'm on the board of trustees of the hospital here, Kenya Vista Medical Center, and it's people who can't afford to get just normal preventative care. And
Yeah.
Medicare, if those cuts, they're going to be home with injuries or illnesses, and I don't know if you saw, but there's a new strain of COVID that's coming out.
Yeah.
And if all these cuts, we got a lot of money from COVID, it's for vaccines, et cetera, et cetera. But if we don't get that, it can wipe us out again. So it's so important. It's so important people pay attention that it's going to hit home, and it is hitting home. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
Everything that's gone on is almost unimaginable. And I think so many people are realizing what that vote, whether they thought, oh, well, because again, I'd like to imagine that they didn't vote for Donald Trump because they thought, I have to think that, or else I'll probably go crazy, that they didn't vote for him because he was this crazy, racist, sexist, just terrible person, but because of some other reason that they saw that I just don't see. And the fact is that when you vote for whatever that unknown reason is, you're bringing along everything with it. And
else he's
and
doing.
now we're seeing that. And not only that, I think the things that they probably were voting him for, they aren't benefiting from because we know that Republicans and the GOP and Trump has never been the head of the working class. The Democratic Party, especially our local offices, have always been the leaders of working class families and, making sure that people have access to healthcare, people have access to preventative care, have lowered costs, can afford a home. And we're just not really seeing that from Trump. And we're just seeing, 20 times worse. And it's heartbreaking to see families being pulled apart. I know that's happening a lot, especially in Arizona. I remember before I was asking you a few weeks ago, what is it like being, so close to the border in a border town in Cochise County? Um, because even, in Phoenix, there's like difference from that. Like, and that's why all these areas are so unique. And so I think it's just,
Well, there's talk of the containers going back on the border. And, everyone was, really focused on, oh, the migrant invasion, and let's stop that because they're taking all our jobs and all our money, which was not true. But it was an easy thing to focus on and think, ooh, um, let's vote for him because he can make that stop that.
yeah,
And they didn't look any deeper than that. And now we're threatening the ecosystem of the border and are actually, the trade with Mexico is huge. It's billions of dollars a year. And if we stop that, it's going to hurt, Arizona, Texas.
Mhm.
And then, what is it? When you visit tourism.
Oh yeah.
So tourism is going to be hit hard. A lot of Mexicans come here. We go down to Mexico. I don't want to go to Mexico. I might not get back. I don't want to actually go anywhere else. I hate to say it, anywhere. I have a passport. I really don't. I've talked to people at Fort Huachuca. They don't want to go on vacation outside of the U.S. because when they come back, they're afraid they won't have a job. They're GS workers.
Yeah.
So, that's wrong.
Yeah.
We have people who are GS workers who we're getting a brain drain here at Fort Huachuca because they're retiring. They don't want to deal with the, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And we're really living in times like that. And I think that's why I think we do cling so hardly to like, okay, like this midterm, we're going to have people on the ballot and it's not going to be the president, but it's going to be everything that we can possibly do to potentially stop it. Like there are those offices in place that, if we protect the governor's seat, if we protect the attorney general, the secretary of state, even the treasurer, all of those things are kind of like our first line of defense. And then even more so, local government is another line of defense. And so we have to kind of cling on to, okay, well, who can we elect locally that will make sure that when Trump does what he does, there are people to stand against it. And that's why I'm thankful to have seen state legislators that were there while the court hearings, people were being pulled from their court hearings, because we need that and people to stand up against it. And it's just a very scary time, obviously, that a lot of people are living through, and everyone's affected. So,
Yeah. That's one of our missions too, as the executive board, is finding good candidates for the local elections. That's our next priority. The thing is, it's challenging because, like I said, you're either as a candidate or before a candidate. I mean, you're either working. If you're working, it's hard to be campaigning. Or if you're retired, you're enjoying retirement and you don't want to be campaigning. So where do you find that group of people who want to be involved and are willing to put in the hard work? And it's a lot. And then have a team supporting them. So, the biggest thing is, man, if we could just get some names on the ballot, that's our big thing is, and then find teams to help them. There's a lot of people who, I had no experience running. And fortunately, I had a team that had some experience. I had Pat Fleming, former state legislator, Bob Carp, who ran a couple of times for state senate. So they had the experience, and but if you have a team that has no experience, you're going to be floundering. So we're going to work hard to try to find those people who can at least get their names, and we get the signatures, get their names on the ballot. That brings hope. And that's what we need to. With everything going on, I think, people across the border, like, we've got to have something different. But if he suddenly does a 180 and starts implementing things that he's just destroyed, that could hurt. I mean, even though that's a good thing, but then people's mindsets are short and they're like, oh, good, he's helping us. Let's vote for him. But then he's just the next person who takes, if it's Republicans, will just continue that downward trend of destruction.
yeah. But that's why I'm very thankful. I will say I'm very thankful that obviously you're leading
Yeah.
that effort in Cochise County because it is that community that I think a lot of people are like, oh, I got tricked into running for office. But and it was by someone that they trusted and
Yeah.
cared a lot about them and cared a lot about the environment that they lived in and the area that they lived in. It's not like someone, who's not in Cochise County would be able to convince someone to run for that office. But it's about building that community that people, they trust you and they're like, you know what, if she's saying that I am capable of running and I can do this, then yeah, maybe I am. And then they run, and then that's where you see a lot of success. And that's why, like with our organization, we always try to lift up young people. And I think sometimes the message comes across a little bit better when it is from another young person. We're saying, no, like you obviously deserve a seat at the table. You can run for office even though you're very young. A lot right now is for school board and city council because that doesn't have the 25-year age limit. And so we're always excited to see young people put their foot forward
Yes.
and start to run because, a lot of the times they get pushed out. So, um, it's just thank you, obviously, for
Yeah. I mean, new blood, forward thinking, hope. That's so important
yeah.
for the future.
Well, I kind of want
Definitely.
to end it on a little bit more of a nice note.
Okay.
No, a lot of things can be really terrible, but kind of a more relaxing question. What is your favorite local spot to either hang out or get food or drinks in Cochise County that you want to give a little shout out to?
Okay. Well, where we had dinner, Tombstone Brewery. So their food is great, their beer is cold, their service is great. CJ is a good friend of mine. He's a great waiter there, and I go to that place as often as I can. So yeah, I recommend that to anybody.
It was very good. I tried
Yes.
their macaroni and cheese. It was
Yes.
very good. Everyone
I love
started
their pretzels and a cold beer. That's
their
awesome.
pretzel is very good. So
Yes,
again, thank you obviously so
yes,
much for just being so
yeah,
welcoming to our team and I. And of course, I'm just really
definitely.
excited to continue working together as we get closer to the election and even now because that's important. And this
Thank
is
you.
when all the fun stuff starts. So
Well, and feel free to invite me up to your area if there's anything big going on. I'd love to come up and meet some of your team too. And yeah, thank you for what you do too. There's hope for the future.
thank you, Teresa.
Okay, Francesca. You take care.
You too.